This is the Tallahassee Business Podcast, bringing you engaging conversations with influential members of the community that you need to know. This episode is brought to you by The Health Network. The Health Network is an innovative advertising platform with more than 30 digital monitors and almost a dozen different medical waiting rooms throughout Tallahassee. With a diverse mix of medical practices, The Health Network provides advertisers unmatched visibility to a highly engaged audience while directly connecting with target consumers through static and video ads. To learn how your business can effectively reach over 60,000 patients and guests per month, visit thnadvertising.com.
Well, hello, everybody. Excited to have our podcast on air and with a special guest, a chamber board member, Herbie Thiele with Sachs Media Partner. Herbie, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
You still look worn out from legislative session.
I am.
Well, I know that you've been working hard, and what we wanted to do is to bring to our listeners really a summary of legislative session, answer some questions on it, what it means to our local community, and what people can expect moving forward. But first, congratulations. I know, like I said, your team at Sachs Media worked really hard, and my understanding is this is probably one of the most successful sessions you had, so congratulations.
Thank you. Yep.
I know working on behalf of your clients and also really turning things around that will impact our community, and we're going to touch on that in just a minute. But for our listeners, maybe a little bit about you professionally and personally, and why we're so lucky to have you and your family in Tallahassee.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm from Tallahassee, a Childs grad, and my dad was as many know, the Leon County attorney here, so which kind of kept me in town. I actually started as an intern at Sachs Media 13 years ago, and kind of moved up the ranks. I did I actually worked at the offshore oil commission for the president. We were hired because Bob Graham was the chairman, and worked. Nights, weekends, like for a while. And Ron then said, "Do you want a job?" and took the job. So been there now 13 years, moved, always loved politics. So, and it was kind of a good mix of not being a lobbyist, but still doing what I loved. And I guess moved up the ranks to now partner. And, Ron, obviously, no shock, as a mentor, and has really helped me move my career forward. I have lived here since I was 10. So my dad was the West Palm Beach city attorney. Then we moved up here. I have a 2-year-old little girl and twin boys who are 1. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my hands are full.
As you laugh.
Yes, my hands are full. I have a job when I get home too. So, but it's great. My wife and I have been married for 3+ years, so we had 3 kids in 3 years. Mm-hmm. So hands are full, but which we'll touch on in a minute. But the governor actually passed a 1-year diaper tax, no tax on diapers for a year, and I thanked him personally.
Well, this is a governor who has had a lot of children as well in a short amount of time.
Family, a family man himself. So awesome. He's definitely. So it's been a great ride, and I lead the Public Affairs Division, so all the fun legislative stuff, like as you alluded to, a little tired after 60 days of fun.
Yeah, running hard. Well, cannot go any further without the massive shout out to Ron Sachs. You're right. He is a past chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and just a remarkable community advocate. And, we're all just nodding because we just need to acknowledge Ron and say thanks to Ron and for the opportunity for us to have you now on our board of directors. So thank you, Herbie. Well, let's kind of jump into this. So 2022 legislative session. I know first and foremost, people kind of get a little confused with when session is. And again, important for our community, important for our businesses. So if you can kind of lay that out as far as the rolling start time frame, that would probably be helpful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is in election years, they had, then it's been this for a while, they run session from January through February, really March, the first week of March, but 60 days, mostly because campaign time. But and then in off years of campaigns, so next year we won't start till March. So that'll be March, April, first week of May. So it kind of every other year, early session, late, we call it late session, but March. So early session, late session. So we won't actually come back. We just finished on Monday. We ran a little late. We were supposed to be done on Friday. But so we won't come back. Well, committees will start in January, but we won't come back in full session till the second week of March. So we have I call it the 1 year, 1 year break or whatever you want to call it. So.
All right. Well, we're going to get into some of the bills, but do you anticipate a special session or special sessions plural?
I think there's a high possibility. The governor who had his press conference after the hankies dropped for sine die, he stood there and said he was going to veto the congressional maps that were presented, and I believe that he's going to call them back for at least that. I think there are some issues on the property insurance that he could call them back as well. So I believe we'll be back sometime in the summer would be my guess. I don't think he wants to run the maps completely through the court. He's hoping maybe a compromise. We will see. But I do believe I give it an 80% chance.
Okay.
We'll be back again sometime in the summer. Would be my guess.
Okay. Well, and we want to give a shout out to our local legislative delegation. So with Senator Lorraine Osley and then our representatives, Allison Tant, Ramon Alexander, and Jason Shove. I know you know them very well, and I know they worked very hard as well during this session.
They did, it's tough. Session is sometimes where it gets emotional, but they did a great job for our area, and I remember sitting with Jason during budget time and him fretting about some of the stuff that's happening. So they all did an amazing job and a great job for our community, and I think they did with what we'll get into it, but one of the largest budgets of all time, a record, and they did a lot for Tallahassee, so it's good.
Yeah, so a thank you to them as well. Well, let's kind of jump in here, and we'll move through this pretty quick, but there are several bucket area or discussion points of bills. So let's jump right in if we can. There's a couple that are obviously that we were talking about before we started recording, and that are really good and will impact our community: farm share and state employee pay raises.
Yeah, so because the budget being the record number of $112 billion, now that has not been signed by the governor, and he can definitely veto some of those line items. But you had the pay raise for all state employees, which is awesome. The minimum of $15 an hour should be fully gone through. We mentioned, things like farm share got funded more than, a little more than what they normally do, but about where they are. So to help with, feeding, people in Tallahassee, I went through the program with Sue, but it's the fruit that's not bad, but it's still good. And, I know that, the sheriff's office here has really been a big partner in all that, and they got their funding to continue to help with, feeding people in need. So the state worker, that's a good bump. I don't know the exact. It's like 5% and some change, but that's a decent sized bump for them for a lot of the state workers, especially here in Tallahassee. So and across the state, but especially here in Tallahassee as well.
Well, and I think some of these bills that really impact so many people at the pocketbook, and now especially with inflation and the conditions are different now than they were when we went into legislative session. So let's touch on maybe the gas tax.
Yeah. So. The governor passed a gas tax that will pretty much bring your gas price down. It doesn't go into effect till October, but it will bring gas prices down actually. So it's again the nice part about having extra federal money is you can do things like this to help people's wallet purse. That's he did a good job of making sure that people felt the help from the federal government actually. So gas tax will be there in October, and then I don't know we fully talked about, but many of y'all remember the school tax that helped take off school supplies, tax off school supplies. It used to run 1 week. This year it'll run 2 weeks.
Okay.
So which is which is huge, and the governor also is going to do part of the budget is there is a thing for hurricane supplies here and a tax off that. And there's one more that's called a freedom tax in July. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for some tax relief on a bunch of things that are needed goods basically, and like we mentioned, and then diapers.
Right. Well, so it does add up. I mean, it really does. I mean, and I think the timeliness of this is that people are really feeling the impact.
Oh yeah.
throughout the day, whether it's starting early in the morning, filling up your tank with gas, or just as you go throughout your day. And still coming off the heels of COVID, and I know there were several bills that were put out there for COVID, as well as Hometown Heroes. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so they passed it's called the Hometown Heroes program. It's $100 million, and it helps relieve people like nurses, doctors, firefighters, police. It's a great program. It helps with homes for alleviating for our hometown heroes. You know, as we talked about before, it's, you know, you see the signs out in front of people's houses and other organizations, hospitals and nursing homes that, you know, hey, salute your hometown hero. And they relieved and helped them, you know, be able to get things. There's also the program that, you know, that will be on the ballot that will help them alleviate some of the stress of buying a home. It's a 0%, zero interest, and it'll be on the ballot coming up this year in 2022 that will help those same people. And I mean, it's another great program. And, you know, no matter which side of the aisle you're on, like they have helped so much during COVID. We didn't forget about them, but COVID made us recognize how important those people are to us in our community.
Well, and then for the business owners, as far as the healthcare COVID liability protection.
Yeah, so they passed the liability again. It was put into law during COVID because it was kind of a, you know, hey, you can't sue because of COVID basically, and they passed it. I think it goes through now October 1st of 2023. So that again, it's a liability. A lot of it's in hospitals and nursing homes. They wanted to kind of get that, you know, the litigation down from, you know, blaming on COVID.
Well, and so many of our small businesses throughout COVID were dealing with a lot of that. And I know that there's also a Local Business Protection Act. Yeah,
there's a Local Business Protection Act that will basically, if a local government does something that causes you to lose money, it doesn't cause you to lose money, because there was a lot of things that happened during COVID that local businesses put sanctions on things. I know that, you know, we don't have to go into the mask and everything else debate of like, but a lot of that would made you know, local restaurants, local businesses lose a lot of money. So this kind of comes in. I mean, a lot of, and I'll go back to like the overall picture. A lot of the stuff that the legislators passed, that the governor pushed, was because of COVID, and kind of seeing the parents not having control, the local businesses not having control. And so he did a good job of, you know, opinion on whichever way, but he was allowed, you know, people to have control of their own business, their own kids, and that was his push the whole year.
Well, I know early on, and I want to make sure to recognize the Florida Chamber and the great work that Mark Wilson and Frank Walker do on behalf of the entire state, but they're right here in our backyard. And, you know, I personally am grateful to them because they're always there to support local businesses and keep Florida's economy going forward. And I know you all interact very closely with them as well, and you know, recognizing what that world's been like and what other issues that we know are kind of on the forefront, what we might see coming forward in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, Mark, Frank do great. They do great work, and you know, I think that I think they really have worked on stuff like the property insurance that's about to come back up. I think that PIP reform, you know, will come back up. I think Mark's done it. The organization as a whole has done a great job looking after. You know, I think again going back to COVID, you know, you hate it, but they made a focus on local businesses. You know, they really have pushed hard to help the mom and pop, you know, restaurants, mom and pop insurance companies that lost money during this. And I think that you'll see in 2023 will be interesting because you'll have the election in 2022. We don't have to get into redistricting, but you'll have it'll be an interesting election that, you know, I believe the Republicans will take more control. And then we'll see in 2023. Knowing just that the governor is going to probably run for president. So, and this will be 2023 will be his last session basically before he probably throws his name in the hat. And so,
and then there's also an election between now and then.
Oh yeah,
for governor. Yeah. So it really interesting times.
I think one of the biggest like overarching picture of this session is that the governor got everything he wanted. They moved some things, they changed it so he didn't get exactly, but he got everything he wanted, and that just shows you that he's ready to to move forward. And but a lot of it is though, like, again, no matter side of the aisle, a lot of it was good for tax breaks and such like that. That's a bipartisan. A lot of the issues are very bipartisan. If you ask, many of the Democrats, even a lot of their, most people voted for the budget too because it was a lot of things that were good that was in their policy, especially for the chamber here. A lot of local stuff that will help, like you said, the purse, the wallet of almost all people in Tallahassee.
Yeah, and I think, as the state capital, the third largest state in the country, as a Chamber of Commerce, we want to continue to not only advocate for our local businesses in local issues, but really recognize how important the statewide issues are. And as the capital, you touched on it, state employee raises, but then our higher educational institutions.
Yep.
And, probably one of the biggest things to end with, the massive amount of dollars that are going to FSU and FAMU and also Tallahassee Community College. And I think the big one that came out that I know President McCullough is just so proud of, it's $125 million for a new health center.
Yep. Yeah. It's, like you said, Sue, that this is it's an unprecedented year as far as budget goes, obviously. Now, some things that won't be probably budget line item, but there's a lot of things in there that are very good. And like you just said, great for our universities. They're also the backbone of Tallahassee. So, and they got a good amount of money. And, I know that the president, FSU president was happy with the amount of stuff. And to be able to build something too, for a health center, that's a huge deal. And again, that's, like I said, no matter your politics, he did some good local things for Tallahassee. That's I think the benefit of the Tallahassee Chamber being here is that we're right here. We're a block from the Capitol, and so we get to learn a lot of this type of stuff. So that's, and like Casey DeSantis, the first lady, had cancer. She beat it. They gave $700 million to Moffitt down that way for cancer research and such. So it's just like I said, I think the budget was all. Yes, there are some weird little projects, but almost all of it was good, and all of it was good for Tallahassee.
Well, it is, and I think I'm glad you touched on the healthcare because that health center's in partnership with Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, and just 2 weeks ago, HCA of Florida rebranding the state of Florida, all of their hospital, and for us as a Chamber of Commerce, obviously we know that creation of jobs is key because it touches everyone in our community, and so. We want to make sure we bring this information forward, and most importantly, we've got the best board of directors, my opinion, because we have experts in the field that can bring forward information, but that live here and love Tallahassee. So, Herbie, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
What's the best way if individuals want to find out a little bit more about this information?
Happy to. You can email me. It's Herbie, so HERBIE at Sachs Media, so SACHSMEDIA.com. Happy to answer anything. You can. My cell phone will be on the email, so you're happy to call me. Can't promise I won't be on a phone call at all times, but happy to call me too. And obviously nothing's been signed by the for the budget wise for the governor. Almost he hasn't got many bills. It was one of the lowest. Just as a finishing recap, one of the lowest bills passed in a long time. Okay. It was like 280.
So highest budget, lowest amount of bills.
Correct. Yeah. So it's a wonky year. It was a little weird, but lowest amount of bills, most money in the budget. And he hasn't signed but a few bills, so there's still some stuff that could be vetoed in the end. There's like the net metering bill, which unfortunately will. No matter what side you're on, it could lose jobs for solar. So, and so there's stuff like that could be on the fence. And then, like I said, the budget is the big thing. And obviously, he's still it's on his desk, but he hasn't done anything with it yet. So,
well, Herbie, thanks. Get some rest before special session for sure.
Yeah.
And thanks for all that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you.